Most people believe smart people have higher IQs, but that's not what changes lives. The biggest difference is something almost invisible. Two people can read the same book, listen to the same advice, face the same problem. Yet one slowly builds a life of confidence, success, respect, and peace, while the other stays trapped in the same cycle for years. Why? Because smart people don't just know more. They think differently. And once you notice how they think, you'll never look at your own mind the same way again. Imagine waking up 10 years from now. You look around your room. Your dreams are still dreams. Your confidence never arrived. Your potential slowly faded. Not because you weren't talented, but because your own thinking quietly worked against you every single day. The scary part? Most people never realize it. Tonight, that changes. Because in the next few minutes, you're not just going to learn how smart people think, you're going to discover how your own mind has been secretly limiting your future, and how to break free before it's too late. There is a strange moment every person experiences. Maybe you've felt it. Someone walks into a room, they aren't the loudest. They don't try to impress anyone. They don't speak every minute. Yet somehow, everyone notices them. People listen, people respect them, people trust them. You wonder, what do they have that I don't? The answer usually isn't money. It isn't beauty. It isn't luck. It's something happening inside their mind long before they ever speak. Smart people think differently before they act differently. That's where their power begins. Most people react. Smart people observe. That tiny difference changes everything. Imagine spilling coffee on your shirt 5 minutes before an important meeting. One person instantly thinks, "My day is ruined." Stress rises, confidence disappears. The meeting goes badly because their emotions took control before the meeting even started. Another person smiles. It's annoying, but it changes nothing. Same problem, different thought, different future. Life rarely changes because of events. Life changes because of interpretation, and that's the first secret smart people understand. Your brain is constantly telling stories, not facts, stories. Someone ignores your message. Your brain whispers, "They don't like you." You make one mistake, "I'm a failure." Someone criticizes your work, "I'm not good enough." But what if none of those stories are true? Smart people question the first story their brain creates. Average thinkers believe every thought. Smart thinkers investigate every thought. That single habit saves them from thousands of unnecessary emotional battles. Think about it. How many nights have you lost sleep? Not because of reality, but because of the story you created about reality. The meeting that never happened. The rejection that never came. The conversation that existed only inside your imagination. Your mind can become your greatest friend, or your worst prison, and smart people refuse to become prisoners. Here's something nobody teaches in school. Your first thought isn't your identity. It's your conditioning. Maybe your parents always expected perfection. Maybe teachers criticized every mistake. Maybe classmates laughed when you spoke. Years later, those voices become your own. You think you're talking to yourself, but often you're repeating someone else's fear. Smart people eventually recognize this. They stop asking, "What do I think?" Instead, they ask, "Where did this thought come from?" That question changes everything, because once you discover the source, you stop obeying it automatically. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day. After years, you stop noticing the weight until one day someone removes it. Suddenly, walking feels effortless. That's exactly what happens when you let go of thoughts that never belong to you. You don't become stronger. You simply stop carrying unnecessary weight. Now, let me tell you about two friends. Both graduated from the same college. Both were equally talented. Both dreamed of building successful careers. 5 years later, one was leading important projects, confident, calm under pressure, respected by everyone. The other was still waiting for permission. Still doubting every decision, still wondering why life wasn't changing. Was one smarter? Not really. Their thinking simply moved in opposite directions. The first friend viewed problems as teachers. The second viewed problems as proof of weakness. Every setback strengthened one and weakened the other. The difference wasn't intelligence, it was interpretation. This is why some people become wiser after pain, while others become bitter. Pain teaches nothing by itself. Reflection teaches. Smart people don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Notice the shift. One question creates self-pity, the other creates growth. The situation stays exactly the same, but the person changes completely. Here's another habit that quietly separates smart people from everyone else. They are comfortable saying, "I don't know." That sounds simple, but it's one of the rarest forms of confidence. Most people fear looking ignorant, so they pretend. They interrupt. They argue. They defend opinions they barely understand. Why? Because their ego feels threatened. Smart people see things differently. Being wrong isn't embarrassing. Staying wrong is, imagine standing in front of a map. Would you rather pretend you're already at the destination, or admit where you actually are? Only one of those people reaches the goal. The other stays lost while protecting their pride. Real intelligence isn't knowing everything. It's remaining curious about everything. Children ask hundreds of questions every week. Adults stop asking because they're afraid of judgment. And that's often the exact moment learning begins to die. Curiosity keeps smart people young. Not their age, their mindset. Every conversation becomes a classroom. Every mistake becomes research. Every failure becomes data. Nothing is wasted. Have you noticed something about truly intelligent people? They rarely rush. Not because they're slow, because they're careful. Most people confuse speed with progress. Answer quickly, react immediately, judge instantly, decide emotionally, but smart people pause, sometimes just for 5 seconds. That pause changes lives. Someone insults them, they breathe. Instead of exploding, they choose. Someone disappoints them. Instead of assuming the worst, they observe. Someone succeeds before them. Instead of becoming jealous, they become curious. What can I learn? That small pause between emotion and action is where wisdom lives. Think about every decision you've ever regretted. How many happened because you acted too slowly? Probably very few. How many happened because you reacted too quickly? Exactly. The strongest mind isn't the fastest, it's the calmest. There's another illusion most people never escape. They think more information creates better decisions. But look around. People consume endless videos, books, podcasts, quotes, motivational speeches, yet their lives barely change. Why? Because collecting knowledge feels productive. Applying knowledge is uncomfortable. Smart people know that one useful idea practiced for a year beats 1,000 inspiring ideas forgotten tomorrow. Imagine reading every fitness book ever written, but never exercising. Would your body change? Of course not. The same is true for your mind. Thinking becomes powerful only when it enters your behavior. Knowledge becomes wisdom only after action. And action is where most people disappear. Let's talk about overthinking. Many people secretly believe overthinking means they're intelligent. I analyze everything. I think deeply. I prepare for every possibility. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Overthinking often isn't intelligence. It's fear wearing the mask of intelligence. You replay conversations, imagine disasters, predict rejection, design perfect plans you'll never start. Meanwhile, life keeps moving without you. Smart people think deeply, but they don't think endlessly. They know when thinking becomes hiding at some point. The next answer doesn't come from another hour of analysis. It comes from taking one imperfect step. Action reveals what thinking never can. That's why experience creates wisdom faster than imagination. Picture a man standing beside a cold lake. He wants to swim. He studies the water, measures the wind, checks the temperature, waits for perfect conditions. Hours pass. Another person walks up, looks once, takes a deep breath, jumps. Guess who learns more about the lake? Life rewards thoughtful action, not endless preparation. And perhaps that is one of the hardest lessons smart people ever accept. You don't need certainty to begin, you need courage. Because certainty usually arrives after movement, not before it. Now, here's something that may surprise you. Smart people spend less time trying to win arguments and more time trying to understand people. That's because they know something most never realize. People rarely change because you defeated them. They change because they felt understood. Imagine trying to open a locked door. You could kick it all day. Or you could simply find the right key. Empathy is that key. When someone is angry, smart people ask, what pain is hiding behind those words? When someone is rude, they wonder, what battle am I not seeing? Not because bad behavior should always be accepted, but because understanding creates better decisions than assumptions. This doesn't make them weak. It makes them effective, because people reveal more to listeners than to judges. And information is power. But don't misunderstand. Being smart doesn't mean pleasing everyone. In fact, one of the biggest signs of intelligence is knowing when to disappoint people. Yes, you heard that correctly. Many lives are destroyed not by failure, but by approval addiction. People say yes when they want to say no. They stay silent to avoid conflict. They sacrifice their dreams to protect someone else's comfort. At first, everyone praises them. Then, something strange happens. They lose respect, even from the people they tried to please, because people naturally trust those who respect themselves. Smart people understand boundaries. They know every yes is also a no to something else. Every unnecessary obligation steals time from a meaningful goal. Every fake smile slowly weakens authentic confidence. And every decision made from fear of rejection builds a life that no longer feels like your own. That is a price far too expensive. Have you ever noticed how the strongest trees don't grow in perfect weather? They grow where the wind never stops, where storms arrive without warning, where every season tests their roots. People are no different. Smart people don't pray for easier lives, they build stronger minds. Because they know something that most people spend years trying to understand: comfort is beautiful, but it rarely changes you. Think about the moments that shaped your life, the difficult conversation you were afraid to have, the job you almost didn't apply for, the failure that embarrassed you, the heartbreak that made you question everything. You hated those moments while they were happening. Yet today, they're the reason you're stronger. Pain has a strange way of revealing parts of you that comfort keeps hidden. That is why smart people don't immediately run from discomfort. They ask, what version of me is waiting on the other side of this? That single question transforms fear into purpose. Here's another secret. Smart people protect their attention like it's gold, because it is. Look around for a second. Notifications, messages, short videos, breaking news, advertisements, arguments, endless opinions. Every company wants one thing from you: your attention. Because wherever your attention goes, your life follows. Imagine planting a beautiful garden. Every morning you carefully water flowers, but every afternoon someone secretly plants weeds. How long before the weeds take over? That's exactly what happens inside your mind. Every negative headline, every pointless argument, every comparison on social media, every hour spent watching other people build their dreams instead of building your own, little by little, your mental garden changes. Smart people understand that protecting your mind isn't selfish. It's survival. Not every message deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your response. Not every battle deserves your participation. Sometimes the smartest thing you can say is nothing. Silence often saves more energy than the perfect argument. There was once a young man who desperately wanted to become successful, so every morning he opened social media. He watched entrepreneurs, athletes, millionaires, motivational speakers. By lunchtime, he felt inspired. By evening, He felt exhausted. Weeks became months, months became years. One day, an older mentor asked him a simple question. "How many hours have you spent watching success?" The young man smiled proudly. "A lot," the mentor nodded. "And how many hours have you spent creating it?" Silence. That silence contained the answer. Information without execution becomes entertainment. Smart people consume less than you think. But they create more than most people ever will. They understand that learning should eventually become building. Otherwise, knowledge becomes another comfortable hiding place. Now let's talk about failure, because this is where many lives quietly split into two completely different paths. Most people think failure says something about who they are. Smart people think failure says something about what they tried. Those are completely different beliefs. A child learning to walk doesn't fall once, they fall hundreds of times. Imagine if after the 10th fall, the child thought, "I guess walking just isn't for me." We laugh because it sounds ridiculous, yet adults do exactly that. One rejection, "I'm not attractive." One business mistake, "I'm not meant to succeed." One speech goes badly, "I'm terrible at communication." One exam, "I'm not smart." Notice what happened. A single event became an identity. Smart people never confuse an event with an identity. "I failed" never becomes "I am a failure." Because actions can change, identity becomes a prison if you're not careful. The words you repeat inside your head slowly become the walls you live inside. Choose them carefully. Another thing separates smart people. They understand the power of delayed gratification. Imagine placing two gifts on a table. One is small. You can have it immediately. The other is much larger. But you must wait. Most people grab the first gift because waiting feels uncomfortable. Smart people are willing to wait for something better. This doesn't just apply to money, it applies to everything. Respect, health, relationships, confidence, skills. None of these grow overnight. They're built through thousands of ordinary days that nobody applauds. This is why discipline often looks boring, but its results look extraordinary. People admire the mountain. They rarely admire the climb. Smart people fall in love with the climb because they know the mountain is simply the reward. Have you ever met someone who constantly needed to prove they were right? They corrected everyone, argued over tiny details, turned conversations into competitions. At first, it looked like confidence, but underneath it was insecurity asking for applause. Real confidence is surprisingly quiet. Smart people don't need to win every conversation. Sometimes they intentionally let small arguments go because they ask themselves one simple question: will this matter next week? If the answer is no, why waste today's peace? Think about how many hours disappear because people refuse to let go of insignificant things. A careless comment, an online argument, a stranger's opinion. Smart people protect their inner peace more fiercely than their ego. Because peace helps them build. Ego only helps them fight. Here's something that changes the way intelligent people see the world. They stop asking, "How can I look successful?" Instead, they ask, "How can I become valuable?" Those two questions create completely different lives. Looking successful focuses on appearance. Becoming valuable focuses on substance. One disappears when attention fades. The other keeps paying dividends for decades. Imagine two employees. One spends hours trying to impress the boss. The other spends hours becoming impossible to replace. Who do you think grows faster? The same principle applies everywhere. Don't chase admiration. Chase usefulness. Respect follows usefulness. Money follows usefulness. Influence follows usefulness. When your focus shifts from being noticed to becoming needed, everything changes. Now imagine standing in front of two mirrors. The first mirror only shows your strengths. The second only shows your weaknesses. Which mirror would help you grow? Neither, because both are incomplete. Smart people refuse to live in either mirror. They see themselves honestly. Yes, They celebrate progress, but they also admit flaws, not to criticize themselves, to improve themselves. Self-awareness is one of the rarest forms of intelligence, because lying to yourself is incredibly easy. I'll start tomorrow. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I work better under pressure. Sometimes those statements are true, often. They're comfortable stories. Smart people regularly ask themselves uncomfortable questions. What excuses am I protecting? Where am I avoiding responsibility? What habit keeps repeating this problem? Growth begins where excuses end. One of the greatest myths about intelligence is that smart people never doubt themselves. That's false. They doubt themselves often. The difference is, they don't obey every doubt. Imagine driving through heavy fog. You can't see the entire road, only the next few meters. Would you stop forever? No. You trust that each small piece of visibility is enough for the next step. Life works the same way. You'll almost never see the whole journey. You'll only see the next decision, the next conversation, the next opportunity, the next small act of courage. Smart people don't wait until fear disappears. They move while fear is sitting beside them. That's bravery, not the absence of fear, but refusing to let fear become the driver. Let's pause for a moment. Think about someone you deeply respect. Maybe they're a teacher, a parent, a leader, a friend. Now ask yourself, what exactly makes them unforgettable? Is it their intelligence or the way they make people feel? Here's something fascinating years from now. People won't remember every word you said. They'll remember how they felt after talking to you. Smart people understand emotional memory. They know kindness isn't weakness. Listening isn't passivity. Patience isn't wasted time. These qualities quietly build trust, and trust opens doors that talent alone never can. People naturally return to those who make them feel understood. That is a superpower hidden in plain sight. There is another habit that quietly transforms ordinary people into extraordinary thinkers: reflection. Most people finish the day and immediately escape into entertainment, videos, games, scrolling, noise, anything to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. Smart people do something different. Even if only for 10 minutes, they ask themselves, what did today teach me? What mistake will I refuse to repeat tomorrow? What am I grateful for that I almost overlooked? These questions sound simple, but repeated every day, they slowly rewrite your identity, because your life doesn't only change from what happens to you, it changes from what you notice. Attention shapes awareness. Awareness shapes choices. Choices shape destiny. And destiny is built one ordinary day at a time. Now imagine your future self standing right in front of you. 10 years older, calmer, wiser, stronger. What would that version of you want to say? Probably not. Work more, not buy more, not even be perfect. Maybe they'd simply smile and say, stop underestimating what one consistent year can do, because the smartest people don't chase overnight transformation. They understand compound growth. A single page every day becomes books. One workout becomes health. One honest conversation repairs relationships. One courageous decision changes a career. Tiny actions repeated consistently create lives that appear extraordinary from the outside. But from the inside, they were simply ordinary choices made over and over again. And that's the beauty of it. Greatness isn't hidden somewhere far away. It's hidden inside today's smallest decision. The decision you're about to make after this video ends, not tomorrow. Not next Monday, today. Take a slow breath right now. Not because you need to relax, but because I want you to notice something. The person who started watching this video is not exactly the same person listening now. Maybe nothing around you has changed. You're in the same room, holding the same phone, sitting in the same chair. But if even one idea from this video challenged the way you think, then something invisible has already begun. Because every transformation starts in a place no one can see: the mind. Before your habits change, your thinking changes. Before your future changes, your choices change. And before your choices change, Your perspective changes. That is why this conversation matters. Not because it gave you more information, but because it gave you a different lens through which to see yourself. Let's be honest, the world is loud. Everyone wants your attention. Everyone tells you what success looks like. Drive this car, wear these clothes, earn this amount, get more followers, be admired by strangers. But smart people eventually discover something that changes everything. The loudest voices are rarely the wisest ones. They stop living according to the world's expectations and start living according to their own values. That's real freedom, because if your happiness depends on applause, your peace will disappear the moment the applause stops. Imagine spending your entire life performing for an audience, only to realize they were never paying as much attention as you thought. How much energy have you wasted trying to impress people who are too busy worrying about themselves? Probably more than you'd like to admit. The truth is, most people are not judging you nearly as much as you imagine. They're fighting battles inside their own minds, just like you. Knowing this is incredibly freeing. It allows you to stop performing and start living. Here's a question that might stay with you long after this video ends. What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't your lack of talent, but the story you've been telling yourself? I've always been shy. I'm just unlucky. I'm not born to lead. I'm terrible with people. I always quit. Those sentences may feel harmless, but repeated for years, they become predictions, then habits, then identity, then reality. Smart people are extremely careful with the words they repeat inside their minds, because they understand something powerful. Your brain is always listening. Every sentence you tell yourself is either building your future or quietly destroying it. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at this," they ask, "How do I become better at this?" Instead of, "I can't," they ask, "What skill am I missing?" Notice how different those questions feel. One closes the door, the other opens it. One ends growth, the other begins it. Questions shape thinking. Thinking shapes destiny. So ask yourself better questions. There is another lesson that wise people learn, often much later than they wish. You cannot control everything. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control what people think about you. You cannot control whether someone appreciates your kindness. You cannot control every opportunity. But you can always control one thing: your response, and sometimes that is more powerful than controlling the situation itself. Imagine two sailors caught in the same storm. Neither controls the wind, but one knows how to adjust the sails. Life rewards the sailor, not the person who complains about the storm. Every difficult season asks the same question: will you become more bitter or more capable? That choice belongs to you, every single time. Now think about the people you admire most. Not celebrities, not influencers. The people who genuinely inspire you, what do they all have in common? They're not perfect. They've made mistakes. They've failed publicly. They've been rejected. They've doubted themselves, but they kept moving. That is what separates extraordinary people from ordinary ones. Not perfection, persistence. The willingness to stand up one more time than life knocks you down. Remember this: confidence doesn't come before action, it comes because of action. No one wakes up fearless. They become fearless by repeatedly doing the things they once feared. Every brave person you know was once terrified. The difference is, they moved anyway. One day, without realizing it, you'll look back, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 10. You'll remember this version of yourself, the one who hesitated, the one who questioned whether change was even possible, and you'll smile. Not because life became easy, but because you finally understood that your greatest competition was never another person. It was the old version of you. The version that believed excuses. The version that waited for perfect timing. The version that confused comfort with happiness. The version that wanted results without becoming the person capable of creating them. Every day, you leave that version behind. You win. Even if nobody notices. Even if progress feels painfully slow, even if success still seems far away, growth is happening, quietly, patiently, like a seed beneath the soil. No one applauds a seed. No one celebrates the invisible roots. Yet without those roots, there will never be a tree. Your invisible work matters. The mornings no one sees. The books nobody knows you're reading. The difficult conversations. The promises you keep to yourself. The distractions you say no to. Those moments are shaping someone your future self will thank you for becoming. So, before you leave, I want you to make one promise, not to me, to yourself. Promise that you will stop waiting for the perfect moment. Promise that you will question the stories that make you feel small. Promise that you will protect your attention like your future depends on it. Because it does. Promise that you will choose progress over perfection, curiosity over ego, discipline over comfort, courage over certainty, and truth over excuses, because one day people will look at your life and say, "You're so lucky." They'll never see the thousands of quiet decisions that created that luck. They won't see the nights you chose learning instead of scrolling. They won't see the mornings you got up when motivation was nowhere to be found. They won't see the moments you refused to let fear make your decisions. But you'll know, you'll remember, and that's enough. So the next time life becomes difficult, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "Who is this helping me become?" That single question has the power to transform suffering into strength, confusion into clarity, fear into fuel, and ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Because smart people don't simply collect knowledge, they build character. They don't chase shortcuts, they master fundamentals. They don't wait for the world to change, they become the change. And maybe, years from now, someone will quietly look at your life and wonder, how do they stay so calm? How do they make such wise decisions? How do they always seem one step ahead? They'll think it's talent. They'll think it's luck. But you'll know the truth. It all began the moment you decided to think differently. Because every great life is built twice. First in the mind, then in reality. So guard your mind. Challenge your thoughts. Choose your habits carefully. And remember, the quality of your life will never rise higher than the quality of your thinking. Think wisely. Live intentionally. And become the person your younger self always hoped you would be. If this video challenged the way you think, don't let it end here. Leave a comment with one mindset you're choosing to change starting today. Your words might become the encouragement someone else needs. And if you're serious about becoming calmer, wiser, more confident, and mentally stronger, subscribe and join this journey, because this isn't just a channel about self-improvement. It's about becoming the person you were always capable of being. I'll see you in the next video.